Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
Hundreds more tests for coronavirus have come back positive in Michigan, and thousands of Art Van employees just learned they'll have to look elsewhere for health insurance during this crisis. The state is now getting results of about 1,000 tests per day, triple the number being processed just a few days ago.
That is pushing up the number of confirmed cases, of course, which now stand at 549. Fortunately, for the first time in 2 days, there are no new deaths to report in Michigan.
Detroit Police Chief James Craig revealed today that 152 of his officers are quarantined after 5 of them tested positive for COVID-19. Governor Whitmer says there are no plans yet for stay-at-home orders similar to New York City and San Francisco. She said a lot will depend on how well people do following guidelines such as washing hands and avoiding large groups. The governor also took time during her news conference to squash some rumors about an action she took Thursday requesting additional funding for the National Guard.
I want to be very clear. There's been a lot of misinformation and rumors floating around. I'm asking for funding for our National Guardsmen and Guardswomen to help distribute food and supplies. I am not calling for martial law. That is a rumor, and that is false. And it is dangerous for people to foment fear and put bad information.
Now, President Trump continued to try to strike an optimistic tone today in regard to the American economy.
He gave an update on the stimulus bill that would put money directly into the pockets of American workers.
We're not talking about a $1,000 check. We're talking about much more than that. We're also talking about doing phases. If this doesn't work, we're going to keep doing until we get it going. And frankly, once we get the economy back and once this enemy is defeated, the invisible enemy as I call it, once it's defeated, we get the economy back, it's going to all come back to us very quickly.
Well, let's hope so, but that won't help and arrive soon enough for Art Van employees who've been hoping to keep working to sell the furniture chain's remaining inventory.
All Art Van employees, those who worked in the stores and warehouses, were officially laid off today. The company says that's because coronavirus forced them to close all the stores and stop those closeout sales altogether. That also means salary and benefits, health insurance, are cut off. Art Van simply says it was left with no other choice. Now, at today's task force briefing, Dr. Deborah Birx said data out of Italy shows in that country the mortality rate in males has been twice that of females across all age groups.
Yeah, really interesting. And that's adding to the stress for a Detroit family who learned last night their elderly father is a confirmed case. They spoke with our Sean Lay about what it's like when a loved one tests positive for the virus.
Their father is 80 years old, was so very active, and it seemed like last week that he just sort of shut down. So now this family can walk us through what this looked like in their dad very early on and how stressful this is now.
It's very stressful. My father, he's everything to us.
A Detroit family now dealing with the stress of coronavirus. Their robust 80-year-old father, they say, tested positive last night after he headed into Sinai Grace last Saturday, saying he felt just awful.
We were shocked. We were still kind of shocked because we know that it was out here.
The family can now share what the early stages of this looked like.
Last week he was saying he wasn't feeling good come that Tuesday. And so he told me Thursday, he said, Chris, he wasn't going anywhere. He's going to stay home because he wasn't feeling well. I said, okay. Saturday, my mother had to call 911 because he had passed out.
The patient's daughters both work in the healthcare industry. They visited their dad while it took days to get the test results back.
They had us cover up, the same way that they had to. We had to wear the mask and we had to cover our clothes. Every time we entered the room, when we exited the room, we had to take it off and then we had to put, new stuff on every time we went back in the room.
And they also say they saw firsthand what we have been hearing from a coronavirus nurse at Sinai Grace, that the staff seems overwhelmed, handling the steady flow of regular patients while also trying to handle people with coronavirus and coronavirus symptoms. This family tells me they do not know how their father got coronavirus as he recovers here at Sinai Grace. They say they are relying on prayers and the support of their family and friends. From Detroit's West Side, Sean Lay, Local 4.
All right, Sean. Let's move now to the many frustrated parents across the state tonight. Many who've been trying to continue their kids' education at home, now learning that all that time and effort basically won't count.
Paula Tutman is live with what parents need to know tonight. Paula, has to be frustrating for parents and students.
I think it's been frustrating all along, and school officials all along have been saying, can you please be flexible? We've been talking about this actually since last week. The writing was on the wall simply because the way the law is written in terms of equitable access to learning for all. You just can't do that with remote learning. However, because of the announcement made today, cue the domino effect. While the Michigan Department of Education has provided clarity that the enrichment work being offered to students in numerous districts throughout the state will not count as actual academics, it still creates confusion in that it is possible that when the Michigan legislature returns next week, by law, it could actually reverse the edict.
I believe it means that the legislature, educators, and State Department officials need to come together.
Part of a long line of falling dominoes as educators and teachers try to navigate the extraordinary circumstances that have forced schools to close in the middle of the school year.
They are being required to teach by their school district. We are in anticipation of those days counting. And legislators need to understand that our members are working their regular hours or supplemental hours in a way that could impact contracts.
As of now, the enrichment is important to keep students in the habit of learning. But today's attempt to clarify also included the fact that at this juncture, 180 days of instruction is the only legal way to pass students, which means it is possible that school will continue through June, July, and August instead of a summer break.
If you've got plans to go somewhere early June, I would start making plans to cancel them because your student, as of now, legally, we're going to need to have school happen on those days, and they'll need to be in school.
Or if school is canceled beyond summer, a whole new conundrum of grade status, graduation status, and whether or not students will be forced by law to be held back without advancing to the next grade level.
That's what the questions we're getting is, what if April 6th isn't the end of this discussion? So we need to have a legislative solution, and the legislature comes back on Wednesday, and we've been in constant contact with state officials, lawmakers, their policy staff, working on solutions and identifying issues that our members are presenting to us.
Okay, so if you have an hour and a half, I can certainly list all of the cause and effects of no matter what happens, whether or not the legislature changes this or whether or not they continue with the fact that this is just enrichment learning. Suffice to say, it's still in progress. It's very, very fluid because they just don't know what's going to happen next. What I tell you today could probably change next week. Guys, back to you.
Indeed, but still a lot to think about. All right, Paula, thanks.
A lot of parents hope it'll be changing next week. We'll see. Now to the front lines of this crisis. It is not just doctors in the emergency rooms or the ICUs that are dealing directly with the impact of the coronavirus.
Yeah, all doctors are fielding countless calls and trying to help their patients navigate this difficult time. We talked to a local physician whose patients are high risk and highly concerned.
A lot of fear. And the patients are affected. I've had quite a few phone calls with people who have high fevers, chills, and shortness of breath.
Dr. Sean Jayakar is a geriatric specialist at Ascension St. John Hospital. The coronavirus has changed his practice.
We're handling a lot of things over the phone. Really, we want people to stay away from the hospitals if possible. Only go if you're really sick.
One symptom that is a red flag.
If you really are having trouble breathing, it probably is a good idea to go to the emergency room and make sure you call the emergency room ahead of time so the hospitals can take precaution.
But if your symptoms are mild,
there are also a lot of patients who are just having fever. If all you're having is fever and some body aches, the best thing to do is to rest. Take Tylenol, rest, drink plenty of fluids, stay home, isolate yourself. If possible, isolate yourself from the rest of the family.
Dr. Jayakar says it is critical for everyone to follow the recommendations to stay home.
A lot of younger people will get this virus, but a lot of them will not show significant symptoms. In fact, a lot of them might not have any symptoms at all. The problem for younger people is that they can spread it to the elderly. They can spread it to people who have pre-existing medical conditions, such as those with diabetes, heart failure, lung diseases.
Steps he's taking with his own family.
I have elderly parents. My wife also has elderly parents, and we're doing our best to keep them away from the kids. I think it's really good the measures we're taking, though, because we have to isolate. We have to stay away. so that we do not spread this virus.
Yeah, and Dr. Jayakar says he understands people are concerned, but if you would have not gone to the hospital for your symptoms a month ago, he says you should not go now.
Yeah, instead, check in with your own doctor. You can also call one of the many hotlines that have been set up to answer questions about the coronavirus, and we've put a growing list together at clickondetroit.com. There is a Bloomfield Hills business hit hard by the economic impact of the crisis.
But that's not stopping them from using their tools of their trade to help other small businesses who are hurting right now and need to get the word out to the public about what they can currently offer. Sandra Ali has the latest installment in our Acts of Kindness series.
The orders have slowed at Wheelhouse Graphics, but that's not stopping this team.
We're trying to appeal to the masses, and whether you're a restaurant, just a deli, or even just a local business that wants to get the word out.
Sean Flynn is the president. He says it was important to them to give back to the community, giving away what they make, signs other businesses can use to let people know they're open.
We understand everybody's going through some hard times. You're not alone in this. We're all in this together. So we wanted to make sure this is our little bit of way to keep our staff busy.
The work keeps their minds off the crisis. One small business using its free time to uplift other small businesses.
It's incredible to be a part of something that will help motivate everybody and keep things going and keep us all going in the right direction. Know that there's an end in sight, and that we're in this together.
And you might spot their handiwork at hospitals like St. Joseph Mercy in Pontiac. A sign for doctors and nurses to know we're thankful for their hard work during this coronavirus fight.
Just a little bit of a thank you, just a little bit of a pick-me-up for everybody doing their part. And we understand they're on the front lines of this, and just to know that we're thinking about them.
And if you know a small business that could benefit from those free signs, tell them to head to the Wheelhouse Graphics website to sign up. To make it easy for you, we've posted a link on clickondetroit.com. I'm Sandra Ali. Back to you.
All right, Sandra, and each small business that reaches out will get 2 lawn signs and a banner for free.
Seeing so many that are following the JFK, not what can somebody do for you, but what can you do for them right now, which is nice. Yep. Still ahead, a local restaurant chain teaming up with Meals on Wheels to deliver soup to seniors, and you'll find out how you can get directly involved with that.
We'll have that coming up. Plus, here's Andrew.
And Kimberly and Devin, we're looking at temperatures continue to slide, decreasing 40 degrees right now. That's down nearly 4 degrees since last hour, already near freezing in Howell. Where do temperatures go from here? We'll talk about how cold it gets tonight and what you can expect this weekend and in the next 7 days coming up.
You see the signs. There's a birthday party happening. Things are a little different because of the times we're living in. I'll tell you whose birthday it is and who gets a big surprise.
As First Informers, we know Metro Detroit counts on us to cut through the misinformation and fear with facts. And we promise to do just that.